Bardstown Bourbon Company has the Discovery Series finally got back on track, or are we still wavering a little bit? Let's find out. What's up, everybody? It's Ty the Bourbon Guy, and welcome back to another whiskey review. Today we're going to review Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series number 11. This is the latest expression in this series. For those that may not be familiar, Bardstown Bourbon Company is a distillery that is relatively new, but has just exploded onto the scene, has done so many different collaborations, so many different blends, has sourced whiskey, blended it with some of their own, blended it on, with just the source products, came out with their own whiskey, not only in terms of the whiskey that they provide, how they're killing the game there, but in terms of contract distilling and how we look at sourcing and how we look at all these different things, how we look at what a distillery tour should look like, and the overall experience within the bourbon world. They are just changing the game everywhere. They're changing it. They're thinking outside of the box. They're doing all sorts of things. But where it all started for me was with the Discovery Series. I would say batch 1 just kind of blew me away because it was something new. Batch 2, it was still exciting and it was just like, man, this is awesome. Here's the second batch. This is good as well. But batch 3 for me is where it changed my whole perception of what the Discovery Series can be. I felt like batch 3 could compete with some of these, with BTAC, could compete with Pappies and all this other stuff, things that people hunt and pay thousands of dollars for. I thought, this is sitting right here on the shelf. It's a little bit over $100. I think it's like 120-ish at that point. It can compete. That's what I felt like back then, at least with batch 3. Batch 4 came out, and batch 4 was also a great batch. But after that, my own personal preference and all that stuff, batch 5 and 6, and I just kind of felt like it lost some of that for me personally. And then I also felt like it wasn't balanced. One of the things that I loved about that whiskey is how balanced it was. Yes, it was sweet, but it had that spice. But I thought when we got to batch 5, I thought that's kind of where that spice element kind of dropped off for me, and it was too soft. And other people probably would have liked that and thought it was smooth, thought it was approachable, whatever you want to call it. But for me, that just wasn't what I was going for. I really enjoyed that balance, and I enjoyed the texture of that whiskey. I enjoyed all those different pieces that really made this a top of the line whiskey for myself. And when we got to batch 5, batch 6, wasn't really a fan of it. I got a chance to try them before I ever bought them, and that made me not want to actually buy the bottles. So as much as I love Discovery Series and I love everything Bardstown Bourbon Company does, I'm not afraid to get on here and say that, that I tried it and I did not want to spend that type of money on that particular product. But I also understand that things change batch to batch. So knowing what it can be and knowing what I had before, I was definitely willing to keep trying this. So as they got into batch 7, batch 8, a few of them they even sourced from Canada. And a lot of people, including myself, had a lot of doubts or questions as to, can that work, right? I mean, you're sourcing products from all over, some from Georgia, from Tennessee, from Kentucky, from Indiana, from Canada, all these different places, and trying to blend that together. Can you do it? So when 10 came out, I started seeing it posted all around social media and I was very skeptical. 11 came out and I got a chance to try it. But even when I tried it, I was like, I don't know. We'll see. Went back, tried it again, and it took me like 2 or 3 times. And then I finally thought, I think it's good enough to buy it, because I think when you're at a place, and it wasn't that it wasn't good when I tried it. The thing for me is that I was at my favorite liquor store and I'm talking with people, laughing. We're talking about different whiskeys and I'm trying different things too. So it's kind of hard to like lock in on this one and think like, is this really worth it? It's different when I'm sitting by myself and, trying something for the first time and analyzing it. I think that's why you have a bottle at a distillery, you buy it, you take it home, you think it's the best whiskey ever, you get home, you crack it and you're like, no, they switched up the bottles or something. This is not nearly what I thought it was, right? I finally went back and bought batch 11. Now we're going to see, does it really live up to hype? You can see it's cracked. I've already jumped into it a little bit, started analyzing a little bit, and we're going to see what my thoughts are in this one. All right, so this particular batch is coming in at 118.1 proof. It's an all Kentucky blend. So they did source this, but it's all from Kentucky distilleries. The nose on this is like sweet oak immediately, but it's very pleasant to me. So sometimes I feel like sweet oak in general can be kind of harsh depending on how oaky, if it's over oaked. I kind of think about this in terms of like with barbecue. Sometimes you have smoke and something can be over smoked, something can be over salted with food, right? So oak can be good and can enhance it, but sometimes can be overdone, but not in this case. Again, pleasant. I get cherries, There is a floral element to this as well. I would say maybe just a slight floral. And then there's some type of maple, something playing along there. But a lot of times I pick up a maple note when I get sweet oak. It's kind of hand in hand for me, typically. Let's see what the whiskey tastes like. Cheers. I would say given the nose, the palate, there's not really that many surprises. I do think with how much I got of oak on the nose, the oak kind of backs off on the palate. That floral element kind of presents itself a little bit more. That maple and honey are still there. And I also think that what I mentioned before, the balance of a spice and the sweetness, that spice is there, and I can't really tell if it's from the proof. I think it kind of is both. I think there is a spice element there, but I think the proof is kind of helping enhance that a little bit even more. So it does drink almost like has a pepper note to it that just kind of brings that just a little bit of heat there. And again, at 118 proof, we can kind of expect that, but I think the mash bill is probably contributing to that as well. One thing that stands out to me is the texture of this whiskey. It has like a maple honey softness to it. I really like the mouthfeel of this. It's a whiskey that seems like I want to keep going back to it. And sometimes with whiskey, the notes can kind of be all over the place, and every time I take a sip, I get something completely different, and that's why I want to keep going back to it. In this situation, I want to keep going back to it because of that mouthfeel. The texture of that whiskey is so pleasant, and every part of this experience has been so good that it just makes me want to grab the glass and try another sip. I think the finish is medium to long. I'm still getting a lot of that flavor. It doesn't die out too quick. It still makes me want to go back to it even more. And at 118 proof, that can be kind of dangerous, so pace yourself. But still, it's something that I could see easily pouring in a glass, you know, whether you're watching a movie or a TV show or whatever, and just kind of putting a good amount in a glass and just kind of sitting there and sipping on it over time. Yeah, I could definitely see myself going back to it. Speaking of going back to it, let's finish this one off. Cheers. It keeps getting better and better. So from the start of that experience to the end of it, whether it's the nose, as we get into the palate improves. As you get into the finish is improving. So every step of the way, it's getting better and better as a whiskey and getting better and better as an experience. So I would say batch 3 and batch 4 still have a special place in my heart. Batch 1 still has a special place in my heart. But I think batch 11, and I didn't get a chance to try 10, at least that I can remember. Maybe I sampled it somewhere, but from what I can remember, didn't review it or anything like that. I would say this is probably the best batch I've had in a very long time. I do think that it can compete. And I don't know if it's because it's the All Kentucky blend that it feels more familiar, it tastes more familiar. I'm not sure what it is, but either way, it is great. If you find a bottle, if it's still available in your area, I would say buy it. I know it's up there in price. Like I said, it's above $100 is what we're talking here. So if you have a friend that has this bottle, like, try it. If you see it at a bar, try it. If your liquor store is awesome like mine and they let you sample whiskey, try it there. But I would say probably try it just because of the price point. But I don't know that I've come across anybody that said they didn't like this one. I'm probably the most skeptical out of most people because everybody likes it. I'm going to be more critical of it, and I just can't be right now. I'm going to rate this a 93 out of 100. I think it's a great product. As much as I want to be critical when everybody's hyping something up, it's good. It's a very good product. It's worth the amount of money. The transparency is there. There's nothing that they're hiding. It's a pretty bottle on top of that. And it's a brand that I enjoy supporting. So all these things playing together, and I would definitely recommend this bottle. If you see it still available, buy it. I don't know. It's just buy it and add it to the collection. If you don't like it, I'll take it off your hands. No worries. I appreciate you tuning into this review. Thank you so much for tuning in, subscribing, liking, all that stuff you guys have been doing lately. I really, really appreciate all the support you're giving to myself and the channel. Thank you so much. And I'll keep dropping these whiskey videos for you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.